Hello, everybody, and welcome to the People's Poll. My name's Suj.
My name is James.
Winter
Really?
is here. I am cold.
Hell.
That's what I wanted to talk about in the People's Poll. Is it time to put the heating on?
You look like you
But
turned
it wasn't an
up
option.
for the YouTube.
I'll take my hood off. I'll take my hood off.
You turned
I just
up
set it up
gangster
YouTube.
for this podcast,
Oh,
mate.
Nah, mate. The heating is on.
All right, how we doing?
Cold? Honestly,
fine.
it's been my topic of the weekend. I was trying to figure out whether I'm being a wuss or everyone's kind of actually started to feel.
I've seen people tweeting online on Twitter and getting like thousands of likes simply by tweeting, I've put socks on for the first time in months. I mean, who just doesn't wear socks for months?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a different podcast, I think.
Yeah, true. I like this time of year. I like it when it gets cold because when it gets cold, we're thinking winter. And when we're thinking winter, we're thinking Christmas. And I want
as soon as it starts turning cold, I think, great, real football now.
Yeah.
We're into the season.
Separate the boys from the men a little bit.
But I think Liverpool and Man City have already separated themselves, haven't they?
They have indeed. We put a People's Poll out yesterday. You put a few options for people to choose from and what we would discuss on our Monday regular kind of, let's discuss what the people want us to discuss. We had a clear outright winner. But you had a few options there in terms of Pookie, what to do now.
No.
That was looking at a different... you resent me the old... you retweeted the old poll. Sorry. Pepe.
Pepe, yeah.
Was an option.
But which is good because we got at 352 on Clash of the Correspondents Thursday, so we'll speak to him about it then.
Yes.
I put Watford up.
Yes.
Because obviously they've had a shocking managerial change. I don't think it was shocking that Gracia got sacked. But I was somewhat scratching my head when Flores was appointed. I did that moment, I think a lot of us did, was A, I checked the time and the date on the tweet.
The article. Yeah.
And B, I was like, he has been there before, hasn't he? I started questioning myself.
Yeah.
And we've got Sixth Goal Stephen on that same podcast on Thursday, so we can cover those two topics off with those two. And I put, the final option I put out was about Bournemouth assets, because quite a few have held, quite a few have sold. Quite a few are thinking, well, maybe after Man City and Leicester, it's time to go back in. Mm-hmm. No one wanted to listen to that. So we are looking at a bit of a fixture analysis.
Yes. So people do like to look at fixtures in blocks of 4 or 5 games at a time. And it does make sense to do that, right? Especially as in the first 8 game weeks, which is nearly a quarter of the season, you've got it conveniently broken up into 2 blocks of 4 with the international breaks. We've just had the first block of 4, and now we've got the second block of 4 about to kick in. So who do you think has got good fixtures? I suppose you've done a bit of analysis breaking it down, but I think the thing that stood out from me in terms of who's got good fixtures in the next 4 is that Arsenal, Tottenham, City and Liverpool, you could say, have got really good next 4 fixtures, which means squeezing in assets from all 4 of them is tricky.
Well, yeah, obviously. So most people go without Arsenal Spurs, don't they?
Yeah. City and Liverpool is still a must-have, 3 of each.
I don't think you think Liverpool's run is a bit stronger than what I do. I take what I've said a few times on the pod. Obviously, Salah, Mane are very captainable this week against Newcastle. But on the following 3 game weeks, 6, 7 and 8, I'm not sure that you're desperate to dive in. Probably depends what you've got. So, for example, game week 7... I think you'd be if you're a Kane owner like me, we're going Harry Kane at home to Southampton. This week's a choice. Game week 6, they're away to Chelsea, you're probably not. Game week 8, they're at home to Leicester. City are at home to Wolves. It's not brilliant for either. And again, Spurs at Brighton.
Yep.
And Arsenal at home to Bournemouth. And probably the main ones you'd look at for captaincy options for those. But I'm not desperate to dive in on like the Salah Mane, as I've said numerous times, because I don't think I'd captain them too much in the following weeks.
Mm-hmm. From Liverpool's next 4, which are Newcastle at home, Chelsea away, Blades away, and then Leicester at home, are you hoping for 2 clean sheets out of 4? 50%? You'd be happy with that?
No, I'd be looking for 4 clean sheets, mate.
You really think so?
Yeah, I don't think, from a fixture perspective, I don't think that matters too much on Liverpool defensively. It's just a personal opinion. They're well capable of going to Chelsea and keeping a clean sheet, aren't they? Mm-hmm. We haven't really seen Chelsea face that sort of opposition yet to see what an Abraham or a Mount or a Pulisic is going to do in that kind of fixture. So, I mean, probably the most dangerous one to Liverpool is probably game week 8 at home to Leicester. I would have thought, in the way they might counter back on Liverpool. I did a little bit of an FDR on the next 4 game weeks, fixture difficulty rating.
Yeah.
It was just a personal one I put together very briefly just to give us a bit of insight for this particular podcast. There are some amazing FDRs in the community, Will at Hub, Ben Krellin, obviously our friend Lego Mane does a really good FDR, and there's plenty more worth looking at as well. What I'd recommend is obviously find the ones that you like and agree with, but also don't be frightened to set up your own template and what suits you best if that's something you want to do. This is the first time I've ever personally done something like this.
Yeah, I think it always needs a bit of human editing when you do try and systemize the fixture difficulty rating, because everyone's got their own opinion on what's going to be a difficult fixture for teams as well. We talked about Liverpool. Tottenham have 3 very good fixtures. One slightly trickier in Leicester away, but other than that, you'd think that playing Crystal Palace, Southampton, and Brighton, those should be 3 out of 4 for certain wins for Tottenham.
Well, we need to be taking an absolute minimum 9 points from these next 4 games.
Yeah,
I would really want 12. I'd be content with 10.
Yeah. The 2 teams who seem to have good fixtures in the next 4, who are not part of the top 6, both playing claret and blue. You've got Burnley and West Ham.
Burnley have a terrific run coming up, and it kind of comes back to this Pookie Barnes argument that we've done quite a few times over the last week or two in terms of...
Sure. The last week, it's
for those of us who've got the value in Pookie, I mean, he scored twice on international duty again during the break. Admittedly, both penalties for Finland, but he's scoring. And there was a debate at the start of the season in terms of who may be on penalties for Norwich. I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be Teemu Pukki. They had a horrendous penalty-taking record last year. Mark FBL Badger had highlighted before.
Yeah.
I think they missed 6 or 7 out of 8 or something ridiculous. But I don't see why Pukki wouldn't be on them. I'm not sitting here suggesting that people should come off Pukki before the weekend, but I am in a position myself where I'm beginning to look at it and wonder if there's a choice to be made here with particularly Ashley Barnes.
I need an extra 0.1 rise in Pukki to get that, because I've had him and he's gone up 3, so I've made 0.1. I need a round even number. This even number stuff is a bit annoying.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, so if I did make that extra 0.1, then I'd be pushed from sitting on the fence to actually probably selling him. I don't want to make a transfer this week, though. I want to roll it for next week. And I'm going to bench him against City this week as well.
I would not be benching him.
I'm benching him against City this week.
If he's staying with me, Teemu Pukki would be playing. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Particularly now I've come down from 2 City defensive to 1. Mm-hmm. No, I would definitely start with Teemu Pukki. He scored at Liverpool opening day, right?
He did.
And that's all you want. That's all you want from that
blanked to
fixture,
West Ham
isn't
last
it?
week, right? So,
Yeah, well, I mean, West Ham are a great side. We know.
I'd rather go with... I'm going with John Lundstrom against Southampton at home.
You do that.
Over Pukki.
That's a massive call.
Indeed.
A massive call.
Once in a while, you've got to make...
You won't be alone in making that sort of decision. I'm absolutely certain. I think, just to go back to Burnley, though, I think they've got the best fixture run of the lot in the next 4.
I agree with you. Even factoring in the fixture difficulty rating and all the rest of it, I think Burnley do. They've got the Seagulls away, so they're at Brighton and Hove Albion. Then they've got Norwich at home, followed by Aston Villa away, followed by Everton at home.
And that takes you up to the Interlol. Oh, how we love an Interlol. They come back with Leicester away, Chelsea at home, it's worth noting. But then after that, game weeks 11 to 14, Sheffield United, West Ham, Watford, Palace are not scary. I don't think Leicester away or Chelsea at home, none of them fixtures are scary for Ashley Barnes.
No.
But Norwich as well, I guess that's the comparison. We've got Jack Turfy Topper and Mark FPL Badger on next week's Clash of the Correspondents before their game week 6 fixture. It feels like the biggest argument in the community at the moment in terms of what to do to Pukki and can we ignore Ashley Barnes? Are we overthinking it? I don't know the answers yet, but I do feel like I want a bit of Burnley. I think importantly for wildcarders, they should really come into consideration. Barnes is the obvious go-to, but I mean defensively you can have a look. There's obviously quite a few. We'll have Pope. I think Lowton at 4.5. Peters is obviously playing at left back at the moment. It's gone up to 4.6. While they're having good results, he'll probably keep that shirt. Although I do think it's a problem further down the line because Charlie Taylor at 4.4 is the better player. McNeil, Goodmanson 6. They're both currently doubts for the weekend. Feel a little bit expensive. And so you just come back to Barnes again.
Yeah, the thing with Barnes is that at any moment you can see that goal scoring momentum switch to Chris Wood, who had the better second half of last season by a long shot. So there's nothing to say that Barnes that momentum couldn't shift to Wood, who's dropped to 6.3. And I can see a lot of people. I've seen a lot of people. I think even Tom, who got the assist, was one of them who was saying that he can't afford Barnes, therefore is going to go with Wood. And it's not a bad shout because they're just as. I don't think there's one who's more likely to score than the other. It just happens to be that Barnes is on a bit of a run at the moment.
Yeah, difficult to ignore the form. Obviously, they both started at 6.5. Barnes has had a plus 0.2 and Wood the minus 0.2. Barnes' ownership is still only around about 11% at the time of recording.
Pretty low.
Woods is under 1%.
Wow.
And I do feel like there's not too much in it between the two of them. Obviously, on form at the moment, you're hard pressed unless you're in that case like Tom, where because of what's affordable, you end up going with Chris Wood. Very difficult to look beyond Barnes' form, unfortunately.
Sure. And not just his eye. If you watch the eye test, he is up for it at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, and I think even noticeable, people might remember, obviously, he was the one taken off late in the game at home to Liverpool. And it felt a little bit, I didn't take that as a slap in the face to him. I took it more as you're probably more important, this game's finished. Jay Rodriguez is on the fringes of that now, scored in the League Cup game from 5.8. But yeah, Ashley Barnes right now feels like a real momentum thing, whereas before, obviously, we know Hindu Monkey's brilliant thread on Ashley Barnes and the Barnes train. I was a bit put off following game week 1 because of those 2 to 4 fixtures, of which obviously he scored in 2 of them. And now you're looking at the fixtures. I don't know, is it a different problem for Burnley now? A bit more weight of expectation. They'll look at these fixtures themselves and think, I want to put numbers on the board here.
Yeah, you'd want 9 points again out of those 3.
I don't know about
7, maybe.
I don't know about 9 for
Definitely
Burnley,
2 wins and a draw.
They'd want 7 points from those 4, I think.
Let's look at the other end of fixture difficulty. It was one of the options on the poll, but we're not going to talk about it in detail. But Watford, if you're the new Watford manager coming into Arsenal, City, Leicester, and then Sheffield United, who defensively are a difficult team to play against, that's not easy.
I think it's Arsenal, City, Wolves, isn't it? I think.
Oh, sorry, is it Wolves?
Yeah, but even still, Jesus, I mean, what a free start with Arsenal at home, Man City away, Wolves away. Fucking hell. Yeah, good luck. I mean, the time, we'll speak to Stephen Thursday, but the timing of that's bizarre. I mean, they obviously waited to get their guy in, but it's all a bit, announcing it during the England game on a Saturday. It's all a bit like, we don't really want much media attention to this,
of course.
I think. Yeah. So I think it was timed appropriately for them. Let's do it all during the England game. It won't get too much attention.
Grazia obviously was surprised with his statement when he came out and said he didn't expect to be fired after guiding them to their best ever season, as he put it.
Their best, I saw his statement. That's not true. But their best Premier League finish, yes. And obviously an FA Cup final. And from that perspective, it was one of Watford's best seasons. They'd also gone something stupid like 17 games without a clean sheet or something. And this guy, Flores, he had, 11 clean sheets in the Igalo season, as a lot of the FPL managers will remember it. So I think one of the reasons he's probably been chosen is to shore them up a bit defensively.
They finished 13th when he was manager and got to the Cup semi, so not too dissimilar. Obviously, they did better in the league last year, but
we have to remember as well, when he took charge, they were a promoted club as well.
Sure.
It's worth remembering. They weren't established like what they are now. I think Gracia's paid the price for bad form over a long period. I mean, they won the first 4 fixtures last season, so I don't know how it would look for them on the last 38 games, but I imagine it wouldn't look pretty. Now 5th favourites to get relegated. And you worry for them defensively. With obviously Deeney's out for a little while as well. But they have got striking talent there. He's got Sarr and Welbeck brought in, Delafeu, Andre Gray's a player I don't mind at all. I think he's all right. I think particularly in away games, he offers Watford something a little bit different in behind, although he has performed better as an impact substitute. Watford, and Stephen will concur with this on Thursday, are not a club even in spite of the change. Sometimes you get that manager bounce, don't you?
Yeah.
You can't look at them
you
three
can't
fixtures
bounce
and go
into
in.
Arsenal and City.
Nah, I mean, but would it shock you if
Bounce,
they, it wouldn't
get
shock you
slapped
if they
in the
beat
face.
Arsenal Sunday, would it?
No. And Troy Deeney will be out there talking about cojones again, no doubt, in the media, whether he's on crutches or not. Leicester are coming into a difficult run as well. Having said that, they're in a bit of form. They've been playing well. That second half against Chelsea was really, really good. They've been scoring goals, I wouldn't say for fun, but they've been scoring goals consistently. Vardy in a bit of form. So whilst the fixture difficulty ranking chucks them straight into United and Tottenham, and those are two difficult fixtures, you could see them getting something at United away. And you could see them giving Tottenham a game as well. If it was a draw or went to Leicester in a one or two goal swing, wouldn't be surprising as well. So with people who have Leicester assets, which are going to be Tielemans, Maddison, Vardy, and so on, you're not really going to be selling.
Soyuncu. There's a lot of people buying Soyuncu. I hope it's for a bench move at the moment, just to juggle things about. Because I don't think you really want to be starting in too many of those next four. United away, I mean, at the moment, Leicester are well capable of beating them. They're definitely capable of beating us in game week 6. Might depend quite a lot in terms of how we shape up. And it's a Saturday lunchtime kickoff 3 days after we play in the Champions League.
Yeah.
Newcastle at home, game week 7 will be the only game on that Sunday. Looks attractive, but then it's a fixture they've lost the last 2 seasons at home to Newcastle. And then obviously Liverpool away in game week 8, but they did get a point there last season. Really, really big period, I feel, for Leicester. I also don't feel like it's the time to go and buy their assets for FPL.
No, but if you're holding, it's not necessarily.
No, it's okay to
sell
hold.
either.
Yeah.
For
Yeah,
sure.
absolutely.
Who else catches your eye and you think, you know what, I wouldn't mind one or two of their
yourselves
players?
a little bit.
Of course.
We'll talk about them briefly tomorrow. But Villa away, United at home, Bournemouth away, Palace at home. That could be all or nothing for West Ham. Could be 10 points, could be 2 points. We never really know where you are. United stands out because they've got a tricky-ish little run with, I mean, we're talking about Leicester going there. I mean, we have to be in a position now where we're discussing Leicester as a difficult fixture, I think.
Yeah.
Leicester at home, then yourselves away, and then Arsenal at home.
The game against us is the Sunday 2:00 game, which will be rowdy because people who have been in the pub beforehand. We always have a good atmosphere for United at home. Last season, 3-1 with Arnie scoring a couple was a really good, enjoyable fixture, and we deserved it on the day as well. So I'm very, very sure that we're going to be up for United when they come to ours, and they're going to be very beatable as well. So I'm looking forward to that game. Actually, is the highlight of the season for me so far, getting down to the London Stadium. We should be beating Villa away, and we should be beating Crystal Palace at home. United at home could go either way. Away at Bournemouth has been tricky for us. We've not always performed very well away at Bournemouth. So I'd happily take a draw. If you gave me 2 wins and 2 draws, so 8 points from the next 4, I'd be very happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that at all. At Chelsea, I wanted to mention briefly as well, I've obviously got a really difficult next 2. Mm-hmm. I've already stressed on previous pods that I think Wolves away this weekend looks like a real trap for them. And then they walk into Liverpool at home in game week 6. Now, from their game week 7 to 12, if we look in the further afield and towards the next interlude, looks really good for them. Brighton at home, Southampton away, Newcastle at home, Burnley away, Watford away, Palace at home. And that's a real chunk. So I think Chelsea still feel, I'm on Mason Mount now, and there'll be others on like Abrahams and the like. It's not to go in now, I don't think, ahead of those two. It's to get yourself in a really good position for game week 7. It's really to target them. And I think once you come to game week 7, Brighton at home, it's worth looking at potentially having more than one of them. We spoke so often about how these budget players at Chelsea will emerge. If you walk into game week 7 with Mount and Abraham, I think that's pretty positive.
Sure. Tammy Abraham has been bought by 400,000 FPL managers so far this game week, so 500,000. So nearly, I mean, that's 6-7% of the game have bought him this week alone. So his ownership is on the way up. For me, if he's the starting striker in the next 2 games, I don't expect him to return in either. But if he's the starting striker, then you're right. Game week 7, it will still be a consideration despite not scoring in the next 2, because then you can be certain that he is the main man, and Chelsea do have a run. It just starts a little later.
Well, I think having now got 4 goals in 2 games, he'll get a little bit of grace now.
Sure.
I wonder if Giroud might play against Liverpool. It's just a personal thought. They might go a little bit different for that particular fixture, but then it's not one you'd be overly expecting on Abraham returning in anyway. So, but I think, game week 7 to 12, and even after that, they play City away, and then they have 2 decent home fixtures after that, straight after. I'll just check what they are now. West Ham and Villa. Of course, it's decent. It's West Ham. You could look at Abraham in 8 of those next 9 and go, yeah, nice.
Yeah, and so it's still cheap. He's less 7.2 million at the moment. He's cheap.
5 very good home fixtures in there.
Yep.
So Chelsea bubbling, but a really difficult 2 for them. Doesn't mean they can't win those 2 games, but I wouldn't be looking in now. Another side who've got a decent run is Villa. Mm-hmm. Obviously, yourselves Monday night, difficult game at Arsenal, and then Burnley at home, Norwich away. It's a sort of run where Arsenal's a free swing, but in the other 3 fixtures, again, they'll be looking for sort of at least 6 points from those 3, really. Burnley at home and West Ham at home, those 2 stand alone-ish against the other 2 claret and blue teams. They'll want 4 points as a minimum, and they'll expect that they can go and get something from Norwich in game week 8 as well.
Yeah, I don't think they're as easy. I mean, Villa still, it's just the 1 victory this season and 3 defeats for them, so it's going to be very tough. You could see if they lose the next 4, or 3 of the next 4, and come out with only 3 points, then you're really looking over your shoulder and saying potentially they're really ready to go down. But 2 wins out of the first 8, 6 points from the first 8's relegation.
They're going to be in a fight. I think we know all 3 of the promoted clubs this year are likely to remain in a relegation battle, but there are others who perhaps we wouldn't have expected to be involved in that, like Watford, who are suddenly you're looking at and going, then get dragged into this. But then there are others like Burnley, who don't see getting in trouble. Palace, 2 weeks ago, we were really frightened about, and then back-to-back wins and they're 4th. And Palace have got a decent little run. It's obviously Spurs away, Wolves at home, but then Norwich at home, West Ham away. It's balanced okay. It's not too bad. Norwich themselves have a decent run after the City fixture. Burnley away, Palace away, Villa at home. Again, they'll be looking at that. And even with the 2 away games, thinking, got to get points from these.
Of course. Brighton and Hove is one. Brighton Hove Albion, is given their full name, is one that I'm interested in. They started the season so well, and then really not performed since then. I suppose the red card with, what's his face the other week, didn't help. It was Andone's horror tackle.
Been bombed out on loan.
So that didn't help at all. But Burnley at home for them. Burnley are tough for any team. So that's going to be a particularly difficult fixture. But then they got Newcastle. Out of those 2 games, you'd want 4 points for sure. But then they got a couple of tougher fixtures in Chelsea and Tottenham. But Brighton is I don't know what to make of Brighton at the moment.
I think with Andone and Locadia being sent out on loan, we got a clearer picture of where they're at in the forward positions. Be interesting to see if Webster keeps his place ahead of Duffy at the weekend. I mean, I can't imagine too many people went on Shane Duffy at 5 million at the start of the season when there were alternative 4.5 options like Montoya and Dunk, if you'd done a little bit of research on it. But if you're in that position, it'd be a concern. It looks like Webster's probably a better footballer than Duffy and fits in more with how Potter wants them to go about playing. I'm really fascinated to keep an eye on them, Brighton. I think it's only them and Watford I've not seen a whole game of yet. And I probably won't see a whole game of Brighton until they play us in game week 8. But really, really keen to keep a close eye on them. If you've got in on sort of like Trossards and that, seeing them 2 go out on loan is a real positive.
Apart from obviously his groin injury international duty.
Yeah, unknown. On that is obviously other unnowns at the moment. Like
the reality
Anthony
with
Martial.
Trossard is his ownership is less than 1%, but 0.8%. So he's been talked about in FPL circles on Twitter and some of the more elite managers or whatever you'd want to call them.
Experts.
There you go. Have Trossard. So you'd think that perhaps he has slightly higher ownership in the wider game. He's less than 1%. So it's not going to make much difference at all. And I'm sure you'd have bench cover for Trossard whilst it's an unknown. But yeah, that's the annoying thing with international break, right?
Well, I've got some sympathy with. I've seen a few people tweeting over the weekend. Obviously, Emerson was another one, got an injury for Italy last night in Finland. And he was a move quite a few look like they've made from Laporte. I've seen some dumb things written online about you can't go early. Listen, if Laporte's injured and you know he's out for 3 months, well, you're gonna just fucking let his price drop. No, you're gonna make a move, aren't you? It's that's the sort of circumstance. People say, you can't make early transfers in a fucking international break or over this sort of period. You can if you've got someone out for 3 months.
Yeah,
Definitely. So I think those who've gone to, I saw quite a few have gone for Emerson. I don't think the timing was right with those game week 5 and 6 fixtures, but I understand the attacking threat was definitely there. You get him in now while he's probably being and then he's sitting there ready for that game week 7 spell. We don't know the extent of the injury yet, but having gone off, I think it was after 8 minutes he went off. You assume that he's probably not going to be available for the weekend.
No, why would they risk him?
Which is a blow, and then you start looking at hits and you think, well, I'm taking hits for defenders. It's awful. I feel sorry for the people who've done that. It happens. A lot of the luck early season is really about avoiding injuries. I mean, touch wood, I've been pretty lucky so far. I think you have as well, haven't you, on the injury front?
Well, my third bench fodder decided to get himself injured at the weekend.
Who's that?
He was out at a nightclub and managed to get an injury by getting himself the shit kicks out of, apparently. So.
Danny Drinkwater, at the time of recording, is scheduled to have a meeting today with Sean Dyche. I don't know what about, don't go out on the piss, mate. I mean, it's obvious with a name like that, he's doing anything but drink water, isn't he?
Yes.
No surprise.
To wrap up, one final question for you. Did you watch England on Saturday?
Of course, yeah.
I didn't. I had a few bits and pieces to do. I got the highlights but didn't watch it. You got the whole game. Before this weekend, there was talk about Kane or Sterling, because we both own both, and they're two standout captain choices. Harry Kane goes and scores a hat-trick, admittedly 2 penalties, but he won one of them. Did you see anything in that game from Kane or Sterling that made you sway one way or the other? Did the hat-trick sway you to put the armband on Kane over Sterling?
No, I don't think either's performance for England particularly tells us anything about their potential performances for Spurs and Manchester City, respectively.
I mean, sometimes scoring goals can kick you into form or kind of give you that momentum.
Pretty impressive for Kane to get a hat-trick, all 3 goals inside about 30-yard radius, which when normally, obviously, he's always playing more than 30 yards from goal is quite incredible, isn't it? Sterling will most likely be my captain Saturday.
Yeah.
To answer the question.
Sterling will?
Most likely. It's a big call probably not to captain Kane. I'll just look at the fixtures and go, I know what Palace are going to be like. They're going to be difficult to break down. Nobody ever gives them a proper hiding. It's not to say Kane can't score twice, for example, but I'd look at Sterling's ceiling against Norwich and think it's a lot higher, personally. I think it's not going with Raheem Sterling this weekend be a mistake. Interestingly, both sides don't play in the Champions League until the Wednesday. Liverpool play on the Tuesday after Newcastle Saturday lunchtime.
Yeah, there's the early kickoff.
Shouldn't be any concern at all, particularly Salah and Mane have had a break over this international period. So from a rotation perspective, there shouldn't be concerns this weekend. I will most likely captain Raheem Sterling against Norwich this weekend and against Watford in game week 6. But then I think I'm probably likely to captain Kane in 7 and 8. So that's fine.
Yeah. There we go. That's a quick Monday People's Poll, wrapping up the fixtures of what we have to look forward to in the next 4 game weeks from top to toe in the Premier League. Anything else to add?
No, eyes on Burnley this week. I'm really interested to see if there's a build in the community towards them. I think there will be.
Why don't you just briefly let everybody know what else we have this week for them?
Tomorrow we're talking about Spurs and West Ham. I don't know if I briefed you on this, but we're going to talk a little bit about the managers and the owners and how we feel about it, as we've got no fixture to review from the previous
briefly talk about
weekend. Yeah. On Wednesday night, late, we will have our extended podcast for the week featuring on the Sky overhaul.
Have you made your Sky transfers yet?
No, I'm just researching at the moment. I'm good to go.
There's just no need to make them early.
No. You're not worried about the prices, are you?
Exactly.
Thursday, we've got Stephen and Adam, as I said, Watford and Arsenal focus on Thursday.
There is probably, I have no idea the distance between California and London, but this is like a probably 2,000 mile split between the two of them.
It's all timed. It's going to work. Friday, we'll look at decisions for the weekend. I think there's a fair chance at the moment that you and I are both going to roll.
Yep.
Our differential team, after a very good week, is in need of serious repair. I mentioned to you about pressing the wild card button on it, and then Richarlison got a double, and I thought twice about it. So we haven't wild carded as yet. I've got a big hit planned for my Southern Softies, which I'll go through with you on Friday. And obviously, there's shitloads recorded for last week. The FPL main podcast is still sitting as my pin tweet. Will do until Wednesday night. Thank you for the feedback on the Berry podcast, which seems like it's gone down really well. Everybody is slightly concerned at how amazing your performance was. So.
Well, I think they're exaggerating, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Yeah, any positive feedback we'll take, and we'll be looking at recording more wider football-related stuff here and there as we can. Maybe the next international break, we'll look at what we can do.
We do 5 or 6 podcasts a week. If we're going to drop 1 or 2 in that's not FPL related, then that's what we're going to do. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. So, guys, stay tuned. We've got a big week this week. If you are Sky players, don't forget the overhaul needs to be done and dusted by
Saturday lunchtime.
When the football starts. Liverpool's game. So there you go. And in the meantime, enjoy England-Kosovo tomorrow evening.
Whoop, whoop, whoop.
Should be a routine win. The ease with which England are qualifying now for the Euros, you'd think that it's time to get some of these younger players in, right? Get Jadon Sancho minutes and make sure Mason Mount is getting minutes and Tammy Abraham. We need to get them the minutes they deserve.
Maddison, I think, is the one a lot of people would like to see start.
Yeah, for sure. So let's hope we see some youth coming through and enjoy that game. But other than that, ciao for now.
Cue music, man, child.
The Fantasy Football Show.